Welcome to this module on emotional intelligence, the engine that powers your leadership. The objectives of this module: 1. To define emotional intelligence, its 4 core skill domains, and analyze its impact on leadership. 2. Assess your emotional intelligence and analyze your strengths, that's your superpowers, and weaknesses. And 3. Reflect on what EI skills can help your leadership flourish. So setting priorities for your EI development and selecting and applying strategies to enhance EI in your chosen domains. Let's begin with the key take-home messages of this module. First, this module is all about feelings and how to harness them to unleash our leadership potential. Second, how do we do that? By breaking the cycle of ignorance and becoming aware of our emotions and taking control of our actions. Finally, you will gain little from what's in this module unless you're open to making yourself vulnerable and conducting small experiments and learning from them. So the mindset that I would like you to take is to think of this course as one extended social experiment where you are constantly trying new things and getting real-time feedback and reflecting on how your little experiments are working out for the purposes you care about. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is our ability to recognize and understand emotions in ourselves and others, and our ability to use this awareness to manage our own behavior and relationships with others. EI development is best understood by the biopsychosocial model. We are each born with certain levels of EI skills, and we can strengthen these abilities through practice, feedback from colleagues or coaches, and self-reflection. Now the star is for you. You are a star. You all are already highly emotionally intelligent to be doing what you're doing. Our delta here, what we are going for here, is the difference between what ability you already possess and your full potential. Emotional intelligence domains. Daniel Goleman conceptualized EI as a set of skills and personal competencies. He also made the case that more than 85% of success as a leader can be attributed to EQ rather than technical knowledge. He described 4 domains in the What Makes a Leader Harvard Business Review article, which include self-awareness, knowing your emotions, being aware of your strengths, weaknesses, drives, values, purposes, and impact on others. Secondly, self-regulation, which includes managing your own emotions, controlling or redirecting disruptive impulses and moods, and motivating yourself. Third, social awareness, recognizing and understanding other people's emotions, including empathy. And fourth, social skills or managing relationships, building rapport with others, and having a strong and meaningful relationship with them. To illustrate these domains, this is a YouTube playlist I have created for you, which you can access using the QR code to the left. It shows movie clips of each of the 4 EQ domains. The first one shows our hero having a moment of insight, of self-awareness, when his girlfriend points out that his behavior is rude and inappropriate and makes him think hard about why he's actually acting out that way. The second one, on self-regulation, shows Mr. Incredible having a moment like we all have more often than we would like, when his ego takes over and he just can't control himself from doing something that makes him feel like the Mr. Incredible of the past. The third one is from Office Space, and it is all about how to kill motivation. The fourth one is from October Sky, about social awareness, and when you watch this, try to put yourself in the shoes of the characters and debrief if you can feel the 3 levels of empathy we talk about in this module. First, what is being said? Second, what they're feeling. And third, how much do they actually care about each other? And the final movie clip, one of my favorite scenes from The Pursuit of Happiness, shows a father first realizing, becoming aware of his son's hurt feelings, and then correcting course in managing his relationship with his son after becoming aware of these feelings. At this stage, you may have completed a formal, validated emotional intelligence assessment to get you to your EQ, which is your personal score in emotional intelligence in the 4 domains. Or for starters, for each of the 4 domains, you can do this unvalidated exercise just to get you going, where you can give yourself a score from 1 to 5. Once you have done your EQ assessment, let's debrief. Which domain did you score highest in? Let's call this domain you're strongest in your EQ superpower. Now ask yourself, what are you doing well in this domain that makes it a superpower for you? These are things that you're going to be wanting to continue to do. Next, ask yourself, what are your areas of desired growth in EQ in the next few weeks? Now you can choose any domain or area you want to strengthen, whether it's already your superpower or it's the one you scored lowest in. And then think about next steps. Where might you start? What strategies could you try out? What goal can you commit to? And here, start with the smallest possible behavior change that is specific, measurable, time-bound. And now you can get started and try to experiment with this change and keep building from there. A couple of tips to help you make the most of this exercise. Your self-assessment may give you specific insights about yourself and bring into focus what behaviors or competencies may help the most in your current leadership roles. Secondly, carefully listen to those who observe you closely and can give you honest feedback. If you can make them a partner or coach in your development, even better. Now we will expand the emotional intelligence skill domains to leadership skill domains, which include self, interpersonal and teams, and systems. Under the self domain, it becomes critically important to be aware of your strengths, weaknesses, drives, values, purposes, and impact on others. And in mobilizing oneself, qualities like adaptability, motivation, having a positive outlook become important, especially having hope, seeing the glass half full rather than half empty, and seeing the opportunity amidst the adversity or the crisis. Under the others domain, now notice the changes. Social skills now includes both building interpersonal relationships and team skills, coaching and mentoring others, negotiation, and even conflict resolution. Systems skills now become more important and have their own entity, and these include systems thinking, organizational awareness, and now doing something about the problems you've identified, so problem solving, decision making, and change management. Now you can see the links between emotional intelligence and many areas of leadership development more directly, starting with leading self, moving on to building interpersonal relationships and team skills, and then systems level competencies. Now that we have explored emotional intelligence and its components, let's turn our attention to some leadership case studies. 2 companies that have been in the spotlight in recent times have been Turing Pharmaceuticals, led by Martin Shkreli, and the startup Theranos, led by Elizabeth Holmes. Now, when thinking about these, you can consider if they were failures of leadership from your standpoint. And if yes, were they failures in leading oneself or in leading others? While someone could be well versed in the tactics of leading teams or the nuances of management or startups, the root cause in these examples might lie elsewhere, in excessive greed and lack of self-awareness and self-regulation. In our discussions, we can look at many different examples of failed leadership that you have experienced and try to identify what made these leaders fail. In doing so, we want to think of them not as all good or all bad, rather as talented individuals who failed in their leadership roles due to certain specific factors. It is important for us as students of leadership to realize that we too can lose our way unless we become and remain grounded. By walking in the shoes of failed leaders, we hope to learn from their mistakes and not let these issues lead to our downfall. This will give you the motivation to really work hard in leading yourself better once you start seeing the links between failures of leadership and certain attributes or competencies, especially in leading oneself. On the brighter side, EQ contributes more than 90% to success, and this is especially relevant in a field like medicine, where there may be so little to separate individuals on the basis of IQ or technical skills. To quote Jim Collins, the author of Good to Great, the three key attributes of the most successful leaders are personal humility, intense ambition, and an indomitable will. All these lie in the EQ domains of self-awareness and self-management, highlighting the importance of leading oneself well before leading others. So being deeply aware of and managing our own behavior as well as relationships with others is the secret sauce of leadership. In relationship-centered leadership, not only does one need to be authentic to oneself and really know what purposes matter most to you and spend your leadership energies there, one also needs to have strong, meaningful relationships with team members, peers, coaches, and mentors, and then connect this relationship of self and others to systems problems and work together in a community. All of this, again, requires using the various competencies of emotional intelligence. So what can help at the surface level of emotional intelligence? Those of you with superpowers in any domain know this already and can share what works for you with others in your leadership groups and discussions. Here are some of the quick tips from my side. For self-awareness and regulation, taking 3 deep breaths works anytime, anywhere. Our breath is always available to ground us, and it works by diverting attention, giving time for the prefrontal cortex to get involved, and activating the parasympathetic relax and connect system. Try this now. If you are able to, close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose. And now exhale fully through your mouth with a duration twice as long as the inhalation, or as long as you can. And 2 more breaths. How did that impact you? If you cannot take 3, just start with 1, whatever is the minimum that you can build a habit around. And this can give you a small timeout to gather yourself, refocus, and come back at the problem with a fresh mind. In the social domain, the simplest thing one can do is single tasking so that we use all of our energies to pay full attention to the person in front of us. And another tip is to practice empathy-based listening. So let's debrief on 3 levels of empathy-based listening. The first level is cognitive empathy, what our other person is saying. The second is emotional empathy, what the other person is feeling. And the third is compassion, that is actually caring about what is being said. Again, this is something you can practice today and see if you were able to completely listen to what the other person was saying, how they were feeling, and did you actually care about what is being said? How does one achieve a deeper awareness of self and others? One good way is building a meditation practice. You can easily get started in your practice by selecting courses in a meditation and mindfulness app like 10% Happier or Headspace or whatever you want to choose, or taking a beginner's course, for example, mindfulness-based stress reduction, either live or you can even find these online. And taking out 10 to 20 minutes daily at a set time can really get you off. I would recommend trying it at least for 6 weeks to be able to see significant changes. And the outcomes that it can bring for you are a much deeper understanding of oneself, awareness of our drives and values, purposes, strengths, weaknesses, relation to others, and a sense of balance and stillness, and a deeper connection to others, empathy at all levels, cognitive, emotional, and compassion that is grounded in love. Research shows that in 6 weeks of meditation, telomeric and epigenetic changes occur in our DNA. See for yourself if this is truly making a difference to your behavior and your attitudes and even your happiness. These are 2 short courses in self and social domains that got me started taking 15 minutes a day. But really, you can select any app or resource. These are just my examples from the 10% Happier app. Another thing that we do in our courses that participants love is storytelling. So storytelling is a way to build empathy, and we can connect with others and even influence them in our leadership initiatives with storytelling. One activity that's a favorite of our participants is sharing a rose, bud, and thorn at the beginning of each session. A rose is an achievement that you've been working on and has flowered. A bud is something new that you tried and how it went or how you felt about it. And a thorn is a challenge you're going through and want to share. At the beginning of our courses, we may begin as strangers, yet we relate to each other authentically through these stories week after week. And out of many stories, we become one community. Another tool that we use in our courses is the Connect book on building better relationships. So this book helps you build skills and competencies in building relationships. 3 of the top tips that I picked up from this book. One is you can think of a zone of safety when we're talking to someone, and then there's a zone of danger where we don't really want to go. In between these 2 zones can be the zone of learning. So just 15% more sharing beyond that zone of safety or comfort can be the little test to see if you're able to build further in an ongoing relationship. The other tip that I really appreciated was the advice to stay on my side of the net when thinking about any problem that's happening between myself and someone else, or when giving or receiving feedback, or resolving conflict. So staying on my side of the net helps me to think about my intentions and certainly mention the common behaviors that we both notice or the common incident, but it stops me from attributing perceptions to someone else or motives to why they did what they did, and instead being more open to eliciting what's going on their side of the net in terms of their feelings, their reasoning, their intentions to what happened. And the third tip is bringing up small pinches before they become major crunches or explosions. And again, I think that the second and third tip are interconnected, because when we bring up small issues in a relationship sooner, then it stops us from telling a whole spiral of story about the other person's motives that eventually leads to either walking out or a major conflict. One more thing. The experiential learning cycle. Think of this course and leadership development as one experiential learning experiment, a safe space where you're really motivated. So this is our why. And then expand your knowledge. This is the what. Use that to practice the new behaviors and skills with a growth mindset of thinking of everything being a prototype to try out and improve upon, including by seeking feedback to improve your practice. This is the how. And finally, reflecting on how your little experiments are going and the if-then. So how what you have learned applies to the problems and situations that matter most to you, and how all the dots connect for you. In summary, in this module we have covered what emotional intelligence is, its 4 domains, and its impact on leadership skills and outcomes. Our emotional intelligence self-assessment, so this is our EQ, and analyzing our superpowers and prioritizing areas we want to grow in and consider next steps in this growth. and some high-yield strategies for developing our EQ in self and social domains, and a mindset for self-directed growth and lifelong learning. We will end with this quote from Viktor Frankl, author of Man's Search for Meaning. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. I hope developing your emotional intelligence can help you increase that space between stimulus and response, and by doing so, help you grow, improve your relationships and your leadership effectiveness and your happiness. Thank you.